So we're up to the final edit of the film, but now let's work some real magic by adding sound effects. Hey everyone, Camber here showing you how to use your camera to make good films. So if you're new, consider subscribing. And this is episode 7 in the behind the scenes look into my short film Coming Home, where we're going to be covering audio and how to really make your film stand out. And the things specifically we'll be looking at is how to capture the best sound while filming, as well as voiceovers, different types of sound effects, and then blending all that together to make a very dynamic video. And if you haven't seen the film yet, go to my other page, Camber Films, check out Coming Home, then come back here and then see the behind the scenes. And with that, let's head over to the computer. Sound is just as important, if not more important than your video quality, because you can have great video, but if you have bad sound, then people are just gonna not watch it. But on the other hand, if you have a really good quality audio tracks with lots of sound effects, it's more immersive for your audience and they're going to be more engaged with your video. And the first step to doing that is trying to capture the best audio possible in your film while you're filming. So you can see for this scene, I had a mic on top of the camera to capture audio of the kids as they're running out. And then I also had this mic overhead the couch, which is a better mic, to capture all the audio of them talking once they got to that point. And here's how it sounds in the film.
Mommy, Daddy's home.
Really? Let me see.
Can we mark the day off?
Yeah.
Again, here in this scene, you can see I have the same mic. I always have it on top of the camera whenever possible, but then I have the overhead mic here, and I could have gotten it a lot closer to their heads. I don't know why I didn't in this case, but it still captured really good audio the whole time. You can hear that here.
Tomorrow, but for him, it's actually already tomorrow because he's all the way across the ocean.
Really?
Mm-hmm. But tonight, for you, it's bedtime.
But when something goes wrong on set, there's noises you can't get out or mics aren't in good enough places, then that's where we start getting into voiceovers. So I'm going to show some examples here. Like in this one that we looked at, the audio for her was fine right here because of this mic, but my son walking around in here is really distant, just didn't sound very good. So we did some dubbing over, and right here I just had this mic set up to a recorder. I had some earphones so I could listen to how the lines went and then told him what he needed to do. Ready? What you doing, bud?
I made Daddy's airplane.
Hey, look at me. What you doing, bud?
I made Daddy's airplane.
And the idea with these is just to get multiple takes saying it in different inflections, and kids, I've noticed, do really well matching almost exactly what you say. So if you know what you want and you can say it that way, then they'll probably be able to match you. But this is how that ended up sounding in the film.
What you doing, buddy?
I made Daddy's airplane.
So another example, I just had my mic set up here on the camera like normal, and then I also had this second mic set up on this little tripod to try to get good sound. Ended up not working out, but we did the same type of thing here. So let's turn a little bit this way, and I'm gonna look this way and you do the same thing. So you'll go, look, Dad's home. Okay, scoot back a little bit in the chair. So you're just gonna turn your head to say it looking out the door, okay? So look at me first. Look, Dad's home.
Look, Dad's home.
Look, Dad's home.
Look, Dad's home.
So I got his part, and then I had to work with her to say her part because they're both sitting there in the scene together. So we're gonna say, he is? Let's go. Look, Dad's home.
He is? Let's go.
Look, Dad's home.
He is? Yeah.
That's fine. There's funny
He
stuff
is?
that happens sometimes, but it's a
Let's
good
go.
time.
Let's go.
But then looking at that scene,
Look, Dad's home. He is? Yay.
and if you look closely, you can see it doesn't match up with her mouth.
Dad's home. He is? Yay.
But when someone's watching this for the first time, they're not looking for that type of stuff. And you just see her head turning and talking, and it looks like she's saying what was actually said. So it works out. You just gotta judge for yourself how much you can dub over and where it'll work out. So next up is sound effects, and there's multiple ways of going about this. You can record them for yourself with your own devices, and that can be pretty time consuming depending on how big your project is. Or you can get an online service, like I have Audio Blocks, and I did use quite a bit from that, but I did make some of my own for this. For example, when the kids were gonna be running down the hall saying
Go ahead.
that I'm home, I wanted to get their footsteps.
Come back. Come back.
And then also here I was having them yelling "Daddy's coming home" like they were going to do in the video.
Daddy's coming home, Mom. Daddy's coming home. Daddy's coming home.
And then I was also out getting sound effects of walking on gravel, grass, different things we had in the video, and you can feel kind of dorky doing this sometimes, but it works really well because it's the exact sounds you needed. I was looking for some footsteps with boots and couldn't really find something I liked, so I went out and made my own. And that's what I did for my process in this. I would check to see what sound effects they had that I liked so that it'd be less work for me recording my own, and if I didn't find something I liked, I would go out and try to make my own. And again, here I wanted to have some ambient sounds because a lot of the video was outside, and that way I could just overlay some of this to have some good audio tracks of wind and leaves and that type of thing. Ambient sounds are always good to have. So let's go back over to the project now. And you can see all the sound effects I have here. Everything in red is what I've added to the project, and all the blue is mostly audio from the camera or what I got from the other microphones while we were filming. So just taking a look at this, you can easily see how much stuff is added. It looks like it's kind of overwhelming at first, but the way I did this was I went through every scene and listened to it with no audio at all. Took a piece of paper and wrote down the sounds I think I would hear from what's going on, and then just started one scene at a time going through adding those clips until it sounded just right. First off, with this scene, if I was just to play it for you with what I got out of the camera, this is what it would look like. Or sound like. So nothing really wrong with that, it's just not very immersive. And then I have a bunch of extra sound effects that I added, like this running water, so it's a more intense sound. I found some squeaking sounds, so it's just, you can really hear that the water's turning off. And then I recorded extra sounds of just rubbing a towel on my hands. So you can see that it adds a lot more. You can control each sound individually instead of just having one recording with all these different sounds. I have one recording for the water, one for the squeaky faucet, one for the towel, and I can adjust all the levels accordingly just so that each one kind of has its own sound space. And again here, this was all filmed on the ground, but you still hear noise from the airplane, and you can't really hear anything else from what we filmed. So I went through, looked at all these different things, and then started adding in sounds. And I left the airplane sound in there and was able to control it how I wanted. So I'm going to turn that off and turn the other sounds on so you can go through and hear these different things. So I did a curtain right there, footsteps, and even that rail, when my hand hits it, made a sound here where you can hear the rail. And then again, my hand sliding off the rail. More footsteps as we walk over there. And then here, I have a sound of the cup being set down. And here's some examples of the sounds I use for that with the coffee. So I have here, this is dishware sounds, and so you hear that is a saucer being dragged across the table. And then underneath that, I found this mailbox sound. So just another little squeak, and you put those together. And it's just those things, it just makes it so much better. Once you put them all together and you hear it, you just think, oh wow, that sounds a whole lot better. And then have the coffee being poured. And then again, I have another hinge sound and mailbox shutting for when this gets closed. And then you put all these things together and it just makes the whole thing a more immersive experience. And I'm not gonna lie, this can be a very painful process and really boring, and it's really one of my least favorite parts of the filming process, especially when you're doing all the work yourself. But once you start getting these things together, it just really makes a huge difference. And then again, here you can also use sound effects to help with your transitions and editing. For example, if I just played this next clip, how it was filmed, it would sound like this.
Daddy's coming home. Mommy, Daddy's home.
Really?
Which is fine, we still have that nice transition with the door opening and the other door opening. However, what I did was recorded a couple more times of them saying Daddy's coming home and layered them so it sounded like they were coming from far away and slowly fading in, so that as we're moving from about here, you start to hear their voices fading in as well as footsteps, and this is how it sounds.
Daddy's coming home. Mommy, Daddy's home.
So you can see that it really adds a lot. It helps pull you into what's about to happen and then makes that scene of them coming out the other side of the door make even more sense. And as I was going through this part, this can be pretty time consuming, but what I did was go through frame by frame and watch when each of their feet would hit the ground, and then tried to line up these different footsteps with that. So I'm sure no one would be looking that closely to see if they match, but for me, that's just, that extra work really makes it sound good. And the same thing here in this next part, you can hear the voices starting to lead up for audio transition again to the next scene.
I want my daddy.
I know, sweetie.
And to me, that really helps when you have a little fade in of the audio to help draw you into the next scene, especially when you're going back and forth between these two settings like I did in this film. And once you get everything in, all your sound effects you want, then you have the process of editing that, because you're not done yet. So you go in, listen to it, see what you want to change, if you need to change any sounds, and then get some time off, go back, listen again, adjust levels to blend everything together. And it really does take a long time to get it down just how you want it, but once you do, this sound design adds such a huge amount to your video. It'll sound so much better, it'll be so much more immersive, and the extra time you take will really make a difference in making your film stand out, because sound is one of the things that a lot of people ignore, but is one of the most important parts. And that's my process for capturing audio for a film. First off, trying to get the best audio possible while filming, and then voiceover, sound effects, and blending everything together to try to make a really dynamic video. In the next episode, we're going to be covering color grading and how to put those finishing touches on the film to make it look really nice. So stay tuned for that. And if this video was helpful, go ahead and help me out by leaving a like, subscribe if you haven't, and I'll see you soon.